All right, welcome in. I'm Jeff Goodman. He is Sean Paul, and we have our brackets. NCAA Tournament starts this week, and we're going to break it all down for you. And you're going to ask us whatever you want, and trust me, we're going to answer it because what Sean and I don't do is there's really no BS. So I'm going to give it to you straight. Injury questions, if you got them, send them to us. Get on here and raise your hand. And get in line, and you can ask us whatever you want. Show Us TV Interactive Live Show is here, and we're going to break it all down. We're going to start with kind of 10 minutes just on our thoughts on some of the bracket, some of the things that came out of the bracket. And I'm going to start, Sean, with North Carolina and the teams that got in and the teams that were snubbed. And North Carolina gets in. And this is going to be the center of controversy here for a little bit. And then people will forget about it and move on. But the fact that they got in with a 1-12 quad one record is insane to me. The one win came back in December against a okay UCLA team on a neutral floor. They get in. The chairman is Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director. But I'm not even sure that's why they got in. I just think they got in because they're a big brand. And I think ultimately, the committee members understand that Boise State's not going to sell in the first four, but North Carolina is. Texas is, even though it's a football school.
You got Trey Johnson.
Yeah, you got Trey Johnson. You got you're making Greg Sankey even happier, the SEC commissioner. So what was your biggest takeaway from either the teams that got in or the snubs? Was there anything that stuck out to you?
I mean, North Carolina getting in, I think, was a bit of a surprise just from the fact that they haven't beaten anybody. And I think them losing to Duke in the semifinals of the ACC tournament, that was their one chance to be like, okay, we can beat a good team even without their best player. If they won that game, I would have been like, fine. They can beat a team with 2 lottery picks and a team that's lost 3 times all year. They didn't have Cooper Flagg, so they're getting a bit of a lucky draw there, but they still couldn't get it done. And we can't just act like, yeah, they lost that game by 1 or whatever. They were down by 24 points in that second half. That game was largely dominated by Duke. So I don't know how the committee saw that and they're like, we need to get this team in. I think you nailed it. That's just a straight up, they're a big brand move. And at the end of the day, unless North Carolina did something catastrophic like lose to Boston College, they were going to find their way into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, because let's face it now. Okay, you get Carolina in the play-in against San Diego State. All right, if it's San Diego State against, let's say, West Virginia, how many people are really watching? Now, Carolina will draw eyeballs. It will. I mean, for better or worse, people will watch because it's still North Carolina and their big brand. All right, I'm not a big fan of it. West Virginia, I got no problem with them being left out. Without Tucker DeVries, they were an NIT team, crown team, whatever you want to call them these days. They were not deserving of being in the field. I feel bad for Boise, but they dug themselves a hole. They had some bad losses early in the season. My whole take on this, Sean, don't complain. Nobody complain. Because if you're on the bubble, you're on the bubble for a reason. So, nobody complain. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I would go back to 64 personally. But
you don't need expansion. That's the one thing we can definitely say.
You do not need expansion. 100%.
There's no reason for that.
I will say this: if you do expand, do something with a playing deal where it's the mids versus the highs to get in.
I'm cool with that.
It's UC Irvine. It's some of those teams. Let them play Carolina. Let them play Xavier. Let them play some of these Texas. And let's get to the bottom of this big argument over the power. The power schools. And, if they went to the Big West, they would dominate the league. Let's see how good they are.
Yeah, we can make that happen. Just prove it.
That's right. All right. The West region is unbelievable. I mean, in terms of teams, in terms of coaching power, Sean, let me read you this. Okay. So the number 1 seed is Tide Golden in Florida that I think might be the best team in the country right now, today. Okay. Danny Hurley's in this region. He's an 8 seed for UConn, the 2-time defending champs. Okay. Memphis, a guy named Penny Hardaway, is the 5 seed, one of the, maybe could have been one of the all-time greats ever to play in the NBA if his career didn't get derailed by injuries. Then you go down to the bottom of the bracket. The bottom of the bracket in Providence, Bill Self plays John Calipari in a 7-10 matchup. 7-10.
They had to do that on purpose, right?
Oh, it's a rematch of the national title game, the Derrick Rose missed free throw, in which Bill Self won his first national title at Kansas. So this one is electric just because and then the winner probably gets Rick Pitino in Providence at his former stomping grounds, and he's now a 2 seed at St. John's. It'll be like the Garden there in Providence. It'll literally be the Garden. Mm-hmm. All those Johnny's fans will travel from New York to Providence and fill up the old dunk, whatever the hell they're calling it now, the Amicus Center or something like that.
Yeah, the amp.
The amp. It's always the dunk to me. All right. Give me your thoughts. All right. Let's go with this. My biggest storyline probably is the West, and just because how do you avoid it? But give me your biggest storyline coming out of the brackets today.
I mean, for one, I think, firstly, Auburn being the number 1 overall seed, that was a bit surprising. I mean, they're scuffling heading into the tournament, and Duke beat them. It was in Cameron, but they still won. But the thing to me is, if Cooper Flagg is 100% healthy, which is he going to be 100% healthy? Do you know?
I think he is. From what my sources have told me, Sean, I think he's going to be damn close if he's not 100. Really close.
So here's my thing. Everybody is talking about Florida right now. Florida. They won the SEC tournament. They're the story right now. But to me, I think we're experiencing just some fatigue from how good Duke has been all season long. They're 31-1. They've lost 3 games this year. 2 were really close games. And the Clemson game is close too. They haven't lost by more than 6 points. The Kentucky game, the Kansas game, those were both in like November. They've lost 1 game since the calendar flipped to 2025. And it was a tough road game. Cooper Flagg again slipped late in the game. But I think we're just forgetting how good this Duke team is because they just dominated the league for so long. And no, it's not the SEC. The ACC sucks. We all know that. But they dominated every single team in that league. They didn't have very many close games. And when you have 3 lottery picks on your team, including a guy that's going to be an NBA All-Star in Cooper Flagg, then you have the eraser down low with Kaman Malawach, and then you have Con Knipple who's going to light you up from downtown. I think people are really forgetting how good this Duke team is and really underrating them at this point because they didn't play in the SEC. They would have won that league too.
All right, so my biggest storyline is the record previously was 11 bids by the Big East. The SEC got 14. Now, I know with expansion, it's different. It's different. I mean, you got more teams in all these leagues. And I don't think the bottom of the SEC is nearly as good as what people have been saying. Like, I think the top is loaded. And even the middle is good, really good. The Ole Misses, Missouri's capable of winning a couple games. I think you're going to have a bunch of teams in the Sweet 16. And to me, and we'll get to this in a minute here, I think you're going to have 3 SEC teams in the Final Four. That's what I'm predicting here. 3.
Okay. I like that.
I got Florida, Auburn, and I'm a Tennessee believer now. I have turned into a Tennessee. I never thought I'd utter those words, but I've watched them the last few days, and I'm all in on the Vols right now. All right. Biggest upset, and I know you love this because there's nobody, for everybody watching, I will put my guy Sean Paul up here against anybody in the world in mid-majors and following low and mid-major basketball. He follows everything. He's out of his mind. And you guys can, honestly, you can quiz him all you want. If you want to get on here and throw a name at him, any name in the country.
We've done it.
We've done it. He literally is at like 95%. What's your biggest upset pick?
I mean, for me, I was begging for this to be a matchup for a long period of time. For one, I don't think Purdue should be a 4 seed. They probably should have been swapped with Michigan. But Purdue being a 4 seed against High Point, let me tell you, this High Point team in the Big South, I mean, the money they have at that school compared to the rest of the league is pretty crazy.
$1 million.
Yeah. Like for example, of how much money they have, North Texas, who's in the AAC, they were a top 65 team in KenPom this year. They paid them to go play them in the Quabbane Center at High Point. Like, they paid an AAC school to go play them, and they beat them. High Point is a really good team. They are a top 10 2-point field goal offense in the country since February 1st. We're not talking about just an elite offense in terms of mid-major. They're a top 30 offense in KenPom for the whole year. And Purdue, teams are shooting 63% from 2-point range against them since February 1st, second worst in college basketball. High Point has some legit guards with Keza Jiffa, Bobby Pettiford, who won a national title at Kansas, DeMaurian Williams, who was at Texas Tech. They're going to absolutely crush him on the interior, and Jocelyn Bodo is going to be the best rebounder on the floor, High Point 7-footer. So what do you have for your upset? I'm sure you like High Point too, right?
I do like High Point, but I'm going with UC San Diego, the Tritons.
Okay.
Wani. I always screw it up here.
Close. We're getting there.
You could say it better than me. Tate Jones.
Tate Jones.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Big wing from New Zealand, played 3 years at Hawaii Hilo. Eric Olin's done an incredible job at UC San Diego. Incredible. I mean, they won the Big West regular season title. They won the Big West tournament. This is a team that's in their first year being eligible for the postseason this year. 30-4, they're going to the NCAA tournament. I'm just not a Michigan believer, I guess, just because of their point guard play. I worry about them in the NCAA tournament because I don't think they have great point guard play, Sean.
No.
Akron's another one against Arizona that I could see. Just
alma mater.
Yeah, I don't believe in Caleb Love. Like, I don't know what I'm going to get. Some days I believe him because he's awesome. Other days he can go 2 for 15 and keep jacking, and then he shoots you right out of the game. So you never know. I feel like that's always one that, again, you never have a good feel for Caleb Love and what Arizona is going to do. They're not as reliant on him now as they were a year ago. All right, quickly, and then we're going to get to questions here for the last 15 minutes or so. Give me your final 4 picks and your national title.
All right, we'll go with Auburn and Michigan State, Florida and Texas Tech, Duke and VCU, Gonzaga against Xavier. And then we're going to go with Gonzaga to the Final Four against Duke, and then Texas Tech to the Final Four against Auburn. Then I have Auburn and Duke in the title game. I have Duke winning the national championship.
All right. Well, the Xavier Gonzaga thing threw me for a little bit of a loop. I'm still trying to process that one, Sean. But I'm going to go a little more chalk. I'm going to go a little more chalky here for my Elite Eight: Auburn, Michigan State, Florida, Texas Tech, Duke, BYU, Houston, Tennessee. And I'm going again, the 3 SEC schools: Auburn, Florida, Duke, Tennessee, and I'm going Florida to beat Duke in the national title game. I am. Yeah, I friggin' love this Florida team right now. Like
they're good. They're good. No, but I mean, good luck scoring inside on Malawach and Flag.
I hear you. I just think those guards are so tough that he's not going to know where it's coming from. That's the one thing with those guys. They can score from all 3 levels. They're big, strong, athletic. They can put it on the floor. And, Florida's got some size too there to Big Micah.
Yeah, Duke's size is different, though.
They are. No. I agree, but they're still freshmen. So
that's true.
All right, let's get to it a little bit here, and let's try to get some questions answered because I know people have some questions here on the show. But first, let's set this thing up a little bit for kind of how we're gonna do this. Ask any questions you want. Doesn't matter. It can be anything gambling related. We're open to anything. Injuries, I'll answer anything that you possibly can. Certainly. Again, there's plenty to talk about on that front. Obviously, Keyshawn Gilbert out for the tournament. We know that. TJ Otzelberger said that earlier. But first, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's talk numbers. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per person, per session. It adds up fast, but with BetterHelp online therapy, you could save on average up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and time. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient. You can join a session with just a click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life, plus switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/show us today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/show us. All right, Sean, it's time. It is time to field some questions. All right, here we go. Tony?
Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? Good.
How are you guys? I'm doing good. I'm a little stuffy. I was doing some yard work. I think I inhaled enough pieces of grass to, really put me out for the rest of the night. So, yay.
All right, what do we got? What's the question?
So, all right, I'm kind of less about the whole bracket thing and everything, but so I'll ask this to Jeff. Next one will be for both of you guys. So, Jeff, what is the wildest NCAA tournament game that you've ever witnessed live?
Good one.
I might have to go watch it, depending on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Villanova's national title game was incredible with the final play where they beat Carolina. That was probably the most exciting ending to a game. The best day I ever had, I had a day in Tampa once where there were 4 upsets in one day. I remember writing, I think I was at Fox at the time, and writing one story after an upset, and then you're like, okay, I'm done for the day. I wrote my one upset. Then the next game, upset, had to write again. I'm like, all right, good. I'm done. There's no way I got to write again. Next game, upset, got to write again. It was like San Diego beat UConn in one of them. It was Drake, Western Kentucky. It was a crazy day. 4 games, 4 upsets. And it just shows you, you never know, with the NCAA tournament, you think and we watch so much. Sean and I watch every single night. We're literally in front of the TV. And sometimes, my mother can have more success picking a bracket knowing nothing. Yeah, it's scary. It's sad.
I have seen that. I've seen that before, and I'm much more of a casual fan. I do love it. The tournament, every year I watch it. It's you're invested. You love the upsets and the whole underdog stories and stuff like that. So it's definitely an exciting time. So that on that kind of direction a little bit, and this is for both of you guys, which players which players that the nation or even casual college basketball fans haven't heard of yet that you guys think will make a big mark in the next couple weeks?
You want to start or you want me to start?
No, you go. You go.
So for me, I mean, that's a tough question because I just watch so much of these guys and tweet about them constantly. And if you follow me on Twitter, you've seen it. But one guy for me that I'll say, and they're not going to win a game in the tournament, but I just think it's a fun story, is Brian Moore from Norfolk State. They're going to lose in the first round of Florida. I can almost guarantee you that. And I think Florida's a 30-point favorite. But Brian Moore started out at JUCO. I watched him when he was there. He was a really good player, transferred to Murray State, and was just a solid player, but nothing crazy the last couple of years. But at Norfolk State, he's taken over, led them to the NCAA tournament. He's a story that people need to know about, and he's a really fun player. And if he transfers, he's going to be transferring up for sure.
Awesome. What about you, Jeff? What do you think?
I mean, there's so many. I'll give you a bigger name guy. I'll give you a guy that Jeremiah Fears at Oklahoma that you want to watch because he's going to be in the NBA next year, and he could be a really good player in the NBA in about 3 or 4 years. A freshman that kind of came out of nowhere this year. Nobody thought would be high on the NBA board. He baby-faced. He looks like he's about 14 years old, slight of build, and he's really carried this Oklahoma team for the most part to an NCAA tournament berth. I'm not sure they win either, but you will see him because he's playing Dan Hurley and UConn. And if they do win, again, this is one where you're going to see Dan Hurley no matter what because his sideline antics and obviously dominating the NCAA tournament for the last 2 years. The spotlight's going to be on him, but Jeremiah Fears could steal that spotlight.
God, I while you were talking, I looked him up, and it just makes me feel so ridiculously old when I see all these guys that were born. I mean, he was born in 2006.
Yes.
Even makes me look a little bit old. That's something.
It's like it's depressing and fantastic all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I appreciate your guys' input and everything, and I'm looking forward to a pretty awesome tournament.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it, man. You too. All right, who we got next? Yeah, sure. I think other guys that, again, we know about Cooper Flag, right? The crazy part is a lot of the best players in the country, a lot of the guys that are going to get picked high, you got two of them on Rutgers that aren't going to be playing, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. Trey Johnson is a guy you want to watch from Texas. He'll be a top 5 pick. Barely got in the NCAA tournament, but he's a professional scorer. And then you got VJ Edgecombe, who's also probably going to be a top 5 pick from Baylor, who's from the Bahamas. Big, strong, athletic,
great driver.
Yeah, who can get to the basket and really, really defend. Not a great shooter, but he does everything else well. So who else you got that people? All right, here we go. Mark.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Sean. How are you guys?
Hey, doing great, Mark.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having this show. My question is more, I guess, the overall field. Like, on the one hand, most of the mid-major tournaments went chalk, like the 1 seed or maybe a team that shared the regular season champion. So we've got a great group of auto bids. But on the other hand, the top 4 seed lines this year are historically also really strong. Like, I checked Ken Palm, like, you can't compare perfectly to last year, but like Mississippi State's number 32 this year with their adjusted EM, they would have been 18th last year. So
that's a good note.
We've got incredible strength, really, aside from the bubble, just incredibly strong brackets. So how would you guys say, like, when it comes to like predicting, like, normally, like, we've seen a lot of chaos in the last several years, but should we see more of a chalky bracket in the first round and then some great second weekend matchups similar to 2019, or you think the mid-major crop is still strong enough to pull off some upsets, really shock us all this weekend?
John?
I mean, for me, I think it's really interesting because at the end of the day, I think people really root for the underdog, and that's part of what makes this tournament so special. I mean, FAU a couple years ago, we're talking about a team that was in the Final Four. They were an 8 seed. They were in this Conference USA at the time. They were able to make it to the Final Four. I think overall, having those kinds of teams make those runs are part of what makes March Madness memorable. So I think having a good mixture of those really high-end teams making the run, but also having a couple mid-majors in there to steal the spotlight is always good for the big dance.
Yeah, people want the big boys at the end, right? We don't want – we've seen it, right? George Mason gets to the Final Four, they get their
Who's
ass.
we, though? I disagree.
Most people do not want the – because then, again, you want to see heavyweights at the end that fight it out, that they're competitive games. What you don't want are lopsided games, or ugly games at the end.
Yeah,
San Diego State 2 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
We don't. That's why I want, again, just from being at the SEC tournament, Sean, the last few days, these teams are now, again, they can lose. But I'm telling you, these teams are at a different level than everybody else. I've seen, the top teams. I've seen Houston. I've seen the top teams in other leagues. St. John's, I just saw a few weeks ago. These teams in the SEC are different, man. They're different.
They got 14 bids for a reason.
Right. Yep.
I appreciate you guys answering. And as a Duke fan, I hope they and the rest of the big boys are there.
I think they'll win it all. So you should be in
certainly they'll be in the mix. No doubt, especially when Cooper should be fine. You got it, Mark. Who? Yeah, no problem. All good.
Tyler, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, Tyler?
All right, what you got for us?
You guys, I heard you guys talking earlier about, so I'm from New Jersey. I'm a big Met fan, so rep Queens. I you guys talked earlier about Rutgers, and that's what was like the preseason story around this area, New York, New Jersey, was Rutgers, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper. And then out of nowhere, St. John's comes out as like the story, at least in this area. I've never heard on sports radio St. John's be talked about more in the past like month.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, what do you guys think of their season as a whole, and like how far do you think this run can go, and is their play style a good play style for the tournament?
I don't think so. They can't shoot.
Yeah.
You know, to me, they can't shoot from three. They can't shoot from the line. At some point, it's going to run out. Like, but to me, if you're a St. John's fan and you get to the second weekend, that's a hell of a year. The problem is Rick Pitino has raised the expectations so high with being a new number 2 seed now, sweeping the Big East regular season and tournament. The league's not that good this year either. That's the other part, is Marquette's not that good. UConn, we know, is not that good. Creighton lost Pop Isaacs back in December, so they're not as good. So it was there for the taking, and man, do they play hard, and man, do they guard. But if you can't shoot it, you know, from three, and I don't think they shoot it well from the line either.
No, they're a really bad free throw shooting team. Yeah.
That's a bad combination to have.
Yeah. Now, I largely agree. I mean, that defense, though, I'm telling you, like, just from watching them, I know they're, I think, second in defensive efficiency on KenPom. I think they're the best defense in the country. Like, the way they get up and guard you, it's just so tough. And they have so much positional size. Everybody on that court is 6'4" or taller, very similar to Duke. But just the versatility of all those guys who can defend is very interesting. And Davon Smith can come off and be a change of pace guy off the bench. But I think Jeff hit the nail on the head. They just don't have the shooting. Their offense is too mediocre. How long can you just hit a bunch of mid-range shots and rely on that? That's going to run out eventually. Plus, the side of the bracket they're on, they did not luck out at all. Maryland's even a good team. Florida's awesome, obviously. And Texas Tech, I have them beating them in the Sweet 16 for the main reason that they just have way more shot makers and ball handlers than St. John's has. So I think that'll be the ultimate reason why they're not making an Elite Eight run.
One more thing, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
With like my whole, I'm a big Nick fan as well. Like Rick Pitino, the fact that he coached Patrick Ewing and that he's still coaching, like what kind of seasoned vet of a coach is that in something like the NCAA tournament where it's just so hard to like continue your success and things just happen. Some days you just miss shots. Like how much of a bonus is it having a coach like Rick Pitino lead the team?
That's a Jeff question. Yeah.
Yeah, humongous. I mean, he's the best in the sport, tactically.
Yeah.
Plus, he knows how to motivate guys. Like, he's 72, but if you talk to Rick Pitino, you're like, there's no way in hell. You know, sometimes you talk to somebody who's 72, and you're like, all right, they've lost it. They've completely lost it. They have no idea what's going on. With Rick Pitino, you feel like you're talking to somebody who's, 50 years old and completely with it. And he's adapted to, this new world of NIL and transfer portal. Guys his age, I mean, we've seen it, right? Like they're out. Coach K's out. Roy Williams is out for a reason. Jay Wright is 10, 15 years younger. He's out. But Rick Pitino, and part of it is he had a second lease on life, right? Like sent to Greece, you're sent to Iona. Now you got St. John's. You're super motivated. And oh, by the way, last year he took these Ivy League kids and he told his staff,
they weren't good.
No, we're not doing this shit again. We're getting out, we're getting big, strong, athletic dudes. Don't bring me any friggin' soft, unathletic dudes again. And that's why they're able to guard at such a high level. And they got I don't know if he's a star, but he's playing like one in RJ Lewis, who transferred from UMass.
Oh, he is a star, I think. I think he's a star.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, he's a star too because of what he's surrounded with. If you made him the number one guy and didn't have enough around him, I'm not sure he's a star.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I agree with that.
Well, thank you guys. That's all. Let's go Johnnies.
Absolutely. Go Yankees. Thanks, Tyler.
Good one, man.
See you, Tyler. Who do we got?
I was gonna make a quick crack at when I talk to you, I always think of a 65-year-old, like talking about Rick Pitino's age, but we're getting there. We're not quite there, but we're on our way.
With my glasses, I probably had.
It puts a couple of years on you for sure.
I know. But I can't see without them, so it's hard. These brackets are small, Sean. If there's
That's why you have
when
them
I need
on a
my
phone.
glasses-
So I have them on a computer. You got to adapt. Come on, it's a transfer portal era.
You can't. No, you gotta. Part of the beauty of Selection Sunday is printing out the brackets. Sean, you've got to.
I did do that when I was a kid with my dad, but I don't have the energy to go print brackets right now.
All right. That's fair. Yeah. All right, last chance. Anybody else with any questions before we call it a day and get down to really looking through all these matchups? Because I haven't really had a chance to look through all of them.
If we have nobody else while we wait a second before we head out, do you have a guess at what the Colorado State against Memphis line is? Like the spread, who's favored and by how much? Do you have a guess?
You have it? You already have it?
I know, yeah.
I mean, with Tyrese Hunter being out.
Yeah, that plays into it.
I would assume it's probably a little bit lighter than it should be. So I would say it's going to be a pick.
Colorado State's favored by 3.5 points.
Wow. Memphis, no respect.
Isn't that something? I've never seen that before in a 12-5.
That's crazy. But people love they love those upsets in the 12-5s too.
Yeah.
So that's
Colorado State's athleticism. Besides Neek, I just don't think they have enough in the backcourt.
I agree. I would take the points there.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we appreciate everybody joining, listening. Sean, always good to talk hoops with you. Can't wait to get going with this tournament. Little Carolina action here early in the week. I know you're going to be rooting against the Tar Heels, so
no, because San Diego State's worse. Like I might not even watch that game. I might just flip on. I might just flip on the Big South title game and rewatch it. Like,
let's get back to 64 teams.
It sucks. I don't want. Yeah, that game's terrible.
All right, Show Us TV. Appreciate them having us, and again, we'll hopefully see you soon.